So, dancers. Did you have that in mind when you
started
writing?
I can honestly say that I didn't. I had no idea that the idea was to have dancers in. And you mentioned when we did this the other way round that you write thinking about the lights and the whole show.
The production,
This was my first arrangement for Mountbatten, and I hadn't thought about the lights or the size of the stage. I was kind of naively writing for a band, like other arrangements. I hadn't kind of seen the whole show in mind when I was writing. It still seemed to work, but it's something that I've started.
Sounds great. So you've done something with that as well, haven't you? It sounds quite disrupted from the original. So is that that's your take on Chicago, is it, or is that something?
Yeah, I wanted it to be
somewhere else.
Yeah, so the whole piece started with the Dixie band, and then it goes into this, which is the first time the lights come up. The whole band comes in, and I just wanted it to make the biggest impression we could. So there's a simple, light-hearted key change, the Westlife off the stool moment.
We like
high trumpets. There's quite a bit of sort of rhythmic changes through it, and I just wanted to do something different than would be expected if you heard the piece.
Yeah.
The original piece. Just kind of do my own take on it. And we go into a total contrast to feature Sam as our vocal soloist for this. This was from Blood Brothers, and again it starts off quite similar to the original, same kind of atmosphere, and then builds, which the original doesn't particularly. It develops, but it doesn't build to a really big song. So we've added quite a lot in. There's a big choir part that comes in the second verse.
And is that something that you were asked to do? So obviously the original is quite sort of small forces, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you were asked to make it bigger.
Yeah. So I was asked to make it into a big feature.
Yeah.
Because obviously from the original show, this is one song of that character, but there's a whole show to show that character. So to do it as a vocal feature, you have to do slightly more than. You have to show off the singer rather than just play the part of a character. Yeah. I was told that there was going to be a choir available, and it would be good if we could use it in this as well. So I've kind of.
First time writing for a choir?
First time writing for a choir, first time writing for MFM, and the first time writing for a vocal soloist. So this was a real shot in the dark. I guess you could be the judge whether it worked. That's not my place to say.
I'm no judge. But it's, So, for writing for your first MFM, you've had to cover every base, really, within your first arrangement. Yeah,
I kind of did. There was a Dixie band section, the full band to be featured, vocal soloist, Sam's song here. It then went to Matt doing a trombone solo, and then choir with Sam and George singing Can't Stop the Beat from Hairspray as well.
Yeah, remember that.
So yeah, it was quite a big ask for a first one, but the method I used to write this was to do 4 separate arrangements, because there was so many solos and features, and I knew that each one would have applause at the end of it, so I didn't necessarily have to blend them together.
Yeah.
They had to musically fit one after another.
I think that's something I've found over time as well, writing the bigger arrangements, the medleys, is that you can spend a lot of time writing those really nice and clever passages to get from one piece to another, for then get close to the show and we have to put a cut in it, which halts everything that you've done, so that the guys can applaud.
If there's an impromptu round of applause on the first night, you then have to kind of change it, because you can't hear your clever bit.
Yeah, I try and factor that in now, whether there's going to be applause and whether to write that sort of connecting feature.
Yeah.
I remember being disappointed quite a few years when the nice bits were taken out. Yeah, but that's a great sound, isn't it? And especially in that hall. Do you think about the hall when you're writing? Do you think about what it's going to sound like in the hall? Is that something you take into account?
Up to a point. I think I don't necessarily think about like the acoustics of the hall particularly. But I do bear in mind the size of the band, the size of the stage, and you can, if we were playing this in a little theatre, it's not going to have the same broad sound that you can get by having a live choir there singing over the top and 10 trombones and a 50-piece woodwind section. So that broad breadth of sound is something to definitely consider.
Yeah. So is this the finale of the medley?
This is the finale. This was I was asked to do a fairly long version of this to feature Sam and George as soloists, including the choir, and it around 5 minutes worth as the last big feature, really. And it suited the rest of the piece quite well. There's been some serious musical moments within it. There's been some light-hearted stuff at the start, and then this is a real uplift at the end. And it went down really well in the hall. All the crowd were getting into it, clapping and dancing along. So yeah, it was really good. I wasn't actually in the band this year. I was, or the year this was on. I was actually backstage as the compere liaison.
Right.
So it was quite interesting standing at the side of the stage, getting to watch the reaction of the crowd. It's the first time I had the opportunity to do that.
Not very often we get to watch the show, is it? So
no.
It is nice when you get to stand back and actually see everything that you've done.
Yeah, it was really good getting to see how the crowd interacts with the stuff that you've written and the ideas you've had, and you can see a relationship with them and what started off on your computer at home.
Was this George Gissing, the singer, male singer, was this his first MFM?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I think he was still in training
so,
at the time.
When you started writing this for him, and he's obviously still in training, so very junior, do you feel like you had to sort of build a little bit of a relationship with him to make him feel confident?
Yeah, I mean, it was fairly easy, and it was quite easy to work with George. I was at the school at the time.
Right.
So I was running the big band and done quite a few things with him anyway. But funny enough, this particular song was quite a challenge, because his voice is very different in sound and pitch to the original artist that recorded it. So trying to find a key that would work for him and Sam, as well as stay authentic enough to the original, was a real challenge. And I did apologise to the band because G flat major was not a nice choice for the bass player. So it was a real kind of compromise to make that work as a piece.
That choir's a nice addition in this, isn't it?
It really adds it to it.
Giving that chorus feel from the musical.
Yeah. Yeah, the choir bit actually was fairly easy to do for this because there is a full chorus in the original. So although I've taken bits from the original and changed other bits because of the key we're in, it was the ideas and how the choir were going to interact with the soloist was fairly easy to imagine. It wasn't completely original.
So the big finish then. What were you thinking when you were sort of stood on the sidelines watching it, thinking this is your first MFM, first big arrangement for MFM? How did it feel?
Yeah. It was great, actually. I mentioned watching the crowd through it before, but seeing it kind of come to life, particularly with the dancers and the choreography and the choir all around, it was. I hadn't in my head when I was writing it envisaged it being quite that big and visually impressive. I was so concerned with writing notes and musical direction and things in it that I hadn't really contemplated the show. So that's something I've thought of more in later arrangements.
Yeah. How does it compare? You've obviously done lots of instrumental solos at MFM as well.
Yeah.
So how does the feeling compare from standing out the front playing a solo that's been written for you to actually producing something like that?
I think I'm much more relaxed with the arrangements because as an arranger, the stressful day or the day you're worried about is always the pre-read, the first note check day.
Yeah.
That's the bit where you need to make what you've had in your head and you're convinced is going to work. You need to play it in front of other people. And when you turn round and everyone's sat there going, that can be a little bit intimidating.
I think that's the great thing, isn't it? When all the work that goes into it and all the production meetings and meetings with the colonel and the core bandmaster and getting everything right, the proofread, the production recordings, taking vocalists away to studios and sort of putting the tracks together. You actually get to sort of sit back and just enjoy it. You're probably the only person there that gets to just sit back and enjoy it. I think that's, I love it for that reason, I think. Getting to sit back in the Albert Hall and just enjoy what you've done. Yeah, the pressure's completely off once it, you know it works and everyone's happy with what you've written, how you've written it. It's filling the need that was in that programme for that piece. You can just relax and just kind of watch how hopefully other people enjoy it. Yeah. And that's always a good... it's a great feeling. It is a good feeling, yeah. Set to music originally written